I don't think they're going to be trying any antics like we saw yet again.
You say that, but what do you define as antics? They're on the red side. They can counterpick for support again. They have 2 games in a row where they have debuted a champion in LCK Summer. I definitely think they may have a third one, Achilles. No guarantee that they go standard in Game 3 against Samsung.
Well, they could, but for now, the Janna is going to be available for MVP if they want to try to go back to that play style like we saw in Game 1. Galio, Kalista, and Elise. So yet again, banning this Kalista on blue side is Samsung.
I wonder if Samsung will just take something like Thresh, who actually deals well with Janna as a hook support. Blitzcrank is the ultimate answer to Janna in many instances, but I imagine that Janna won't be drafted early enough to be able to take a Blitzcrank into it. They may just counterpick for support at last pick again. First pick of the overall draft will be the Rek'Sai that Ambition has continued to go undefeated on. He's actually 6-0 on the summer season on Rek'Sai, so it's been his most reliable pick.
Looking to make it 7, but we will see this Gragas yet again coming through, likely going to be 4 beyond there in the jungle like we saw from Game 1.
Where will MVP go with the draft? Xayah again would mean they are piecing together what they played in that first game, Achilles.
All right, Core JJ, it's time to see how good your Janna is. You could also go for the Rakan for the side of MVP.
There's no guarantees here. I think MVP really do want to counterpick for support, so the only way Samsung can really interact with that is try to take power elsewhere and set up some disadvantageous trades in the draft. And Taliyah is going to be drafted quite early. We've seen first pick Taliyah from multiple teams, so second round on the blue side is not a surprise. But Crown was the player who brought back Taliyah into the meta at IEM Gyeonggi after the changes had rendered her unplayable in many people's minds when her wave clear was taken down a notch. Now, once again, she is seen as powerful, and it seems like Samsung, they want to answer even a theoretical Janna pick with some pick, and they have a lot of pick power, even if it's the Varus over the Ashe.
Yeah, do flip over to that one there. Last second for the lock-in. So Varus yet again coming through here for Ruler. Can they just get the Tom Kents yet again for Core JJ, or will we see that banned away in the second round of the draft? For now, looking for something to go against the Taliyah in the mid lane. It's going to be the Syndra here for Ian, a once famed pick for him. Had a very nice win record with this, but has very much fallen off for him in summer.
Yeah, last game he played on the Syndra was, of course, the fateful game, which confirmed the LCK as losing to the LPL at Rift Rivals. That was the final game there. Still is a noted Syndra player, even if, as you say, perhaps there's a bit of rust and a bit less expectation about whether it will lead to victories. Went on a huge win streak in spring season, largely off the back of the Syndra, and it's also been a big pick for Crown, who's undefeated on the Syndra in summer season. You were talking about the Rakan, and it seems clear that Samsung is starting to respect some of Max's supports. It's looking inevitable that it will be a last pick support. So we're expecting top lane. You could ban Jarvan here, because if I'm MVP, it's probably going to be Jarvan, and then just wait and see when it comes to the support counterpick.
Do they leave the Janna available?
It's one of the two. I think Janna or Jarvan are the bans that I would look at. It's going to be the Janna ban. Okay.
All right.
So still potential for Max to pull a rabbit out of a hat. We've seen the Zillion. We've seen the Vel'Koz. He has a lot of eccentric picks from support.
And the Blitzcrank as well is there. If he wanted to go to that route.
Jarvan has 100% win rate so far in this series, so it makes sense for it to be picked up this time by MVP.
Yep, I'll go ahead and lock that. So maybe we just see the Renekton yet again here from Cuvee. Was dominating that lane early on, but then there was that fateful pick on to Ruler. Oh, but this has actually made it through the draft.
Yeah, this time the Camille is available, and it has the ability to really put a dampener on the Jarvan as the laning phase extends, and it can snowball out of control.
And Cuvee has been a fantastic Camille, and there we go. They have it yet again, but you can see Max brushing his hands together, says, okay.
I think this is time for
he's got a plan.
The third crazy pick. No longer has the Janna available to him. Many different routes you can go here. Very heavy engage comp from MVP. Where does he want to go? His champion pool at support is almost limitless. And actually, it may actually be more of a standard pick, because for now, it's looking like the Thresh.
All right, well, they go ahead and they lock that one in. So extra pick potential here from the side of MVP. As as they begin to shuffle around, do have those death sentences, and they can just try to focus out Core JJ in that bottom lane.
I mean, focus is what they've drafted for. This is a pick comp. This is the MVP that we know and love. They have always acted best on a pick comp, and it is a prototypical pick comp. They could have gone many different ways with their support, but the moment you're drafting Thresh into Tahm Kench, you're basically saying we need more pick tools, we want to roll the mid-game. A lot of mid-game power for MVP, but it's not the identity that won them game one. So we'll have to wait and see if this is enough, going pretty standard by MVP's level against Samsung Galaxy.
All right, well, here we go. MVP so very close to finally finding a win. Begin that upward climb through the standings, but Samsung, they have the momentum on their side. Ambition still in here for the squad. Just picked up that one win, and he's back over onto the rec side, so it seems like the victory is going to be within their grasp.
And I think Ambition is the man that has to really help them in the early game. Top lane and mid lane are definitely snowball lanes that Samsung, I think, on paper, do lose in terms of pressure in the early game. So we'll see if they can arrest that with Ambition's path.
I mean, he had fantastic pathing there in game one, denying a lot away from Beyond. We'll see if he can do it here again as we get into game three. MVP fans still holding in there, strong, trying to transfer their energy to the players in the booths.
I think Beyond can use it the most. Had a rough time on the Amumu.
Oh yeah.
Was bullied in game one, as law appropriate as that is for Amumu. And now we look at MVP, who have strong lanes. Talia will be able to push in Syndra early, but Syndra has a lot of kill pressure on Talia at level 6, enough to force the barrier to be taken by the Talia. And also the Jarvan does very well against Camille on the earlier phases of the game. This is the sort of game where Beyond could snowball his lanes, stop Ambition from running the jungle as he basically did with no competition in game one, and allow MVP to capitalize on the potential of the lane matchups, or Ambition could do a snowball job of his own.
There's so many treats in this game for us. Core JJ back over to the Tahm Kench. We've seen how great he is in timing his devours. Crown on the Talia, something that he helped popularize. But honestly, for me, it's watching Cuvée yet again on this Camille, because he has been an absolute monster with this pick. So I'm excited to watch him every time he can get his hands on it.
Yeah. Between Camille and Jarvan, he's 10-0 on the two picks, 6-0 on Jarvan now. Okay, Max walks up, perhaps a bit more brazenly than expected. Wanted to stop the power leash for Ambition.
They get the ward down, they'll go ahead and clear that one out, so not going to be having an extended vision in that bottom side of the jungle there for MVP. But like you said, they do stop that power leash from coming through, so this will slow down the rec side quite a bit.
Now, while I call it a power leash, it's not a super leash, because there is no leash onto the red buff. So a lot of that in NALCS today, the true super leash, where you get the hard leash on both the Raptors and the red. This time, Ruler and Core JJ focusing on going to lane and not losing the level 2, potentially, to Maha and Max. And I think if you're drafting Varus, you want to ensure every last bit of experience and any advantage you can get, given that the laning phase is perhaps where he's strongest.
Well, for now, just going to be starting out with some nice farming from everybody here, so nothing too crazy going to be going on. So we can see those junglers start to arrive at some of the lanes.
So do you find nice farming as the opposite of dirty farming?
Yes.
Because dirty farming is, of course, when you farm behind the turret. Singed was the famous proxy singed, or dirty farming singed, as it was called in Korea. Mid lane.
He's going to go ahead. He's going to flash in for this one. Ian does have his flash available.
Has to use both summoners.
Yeah, so that's going to be a worthwhile little time investment there from Ambition. Without his flash, it does hurt him for the rest of his ganks, but now with Crown lands a seismic shove, Ian's
that's
done for.
Certainly solo kill potential, like you say, from Crown with no summoners.
Wraparound is coming through from Beyond, however. He's going to be coming straight up through from the river. Crown cheating over towards his top side. See how he wants to try to make it out of here, if he even has to.
Gonna help.
He is,
It's helping push.
yeah.
You can't go you can't follow the Talia topside because you don't know exactly where Rek'Sai is. The only information you have is that he went topside, so
this is true.
There's just no threat on Crown. And if we know one thing about Crown is that he doesn't like using his summoners unless he absolutely has to. His calculations on those have been highlights in their own right. So Ambition does basically solo win Crown the lane. He would have already been able to shove against Ian, but having kill pressure as well is pretty damn big.
Well, ADD is pushed forward. The stun will come through from the hook shot. Ambition is wrapping around, and ADD, oh, it seems like maybe all hope lost here. Does have to flash flag and drag, and Ambition doesn't have his own, so will not be able to follow up. But this is going to be an even more painful lane now for ADD. Likely going to have to burn the TP to get back in here.
He's just matching the TP of Cuvée, who used his earlier, so not too big of a cost in it. Speaking of matching, Ian went back, could not afford a second Doran's, so just went the route of the refillable and also the Dark Seal. Much different jungling experience, but predictable. You don't play against a Gragas jungle like you do, and a Mumu. No one told Ambition though. He loves every side of the jungle.
Yeah, he just keeps pushing in, trying to take everything.
The blue side this time, but we already saw him monopolizing the top red side's first spawns. Big winners so far are Samsung Galaxy, empowering Crown to overextend, be able to push up for CS in the mid lane, not to have to play on the back foot as if his summoners were down. Helps baby him through what can be a tricky laning phase as Ian gets closer and closer to 6.
Just going back and forth here, but you know, game 3, thinking about it, it's already 7:30 here in Korea, Pop Smithy. We're actually going to be maybe wrapping up this series, if not going a little bit later than 8 p.m., so we won't have one of those massive 45-minute to 1-hour breaks in between our sets.
Does mean more League of Legends action for the OGN Legion. Have been suffering a bit this week. We've had 4 game days on both our match days, so I certainly welcome some more League of Legends, even though I must admit I've been looking at the other regions being a bit jealous that they're on 7:14 already. I'm ready for some Kane.
We're almost there.
A new itemization. You're right, we are almost there, but close but no cigar for us so far.
They're just trying to tantalize you that much more, that's all.
Well, the meta's changed quite. It feels like patches, last 3 or 4 have had some pretty significant bits, and this one's no exception, so a lot to be excited about as well. Mid lane party.
Yeah, he's going to get stunned up, flash in for the Flay Crown, going to get locked on. The protection from Max! Finds the death sentence, and that's going to be first blood going over to MVP. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, sick hook from Max. You could argue that there was no other way for Crown to get out than flashing in that direction. We still have to reward him for the smart pathing his top lane.
Well, in the meantime, yeah, pop-up coming through. ADD still without his flash will go down. So an answering kill there from Samsung. But that's not going to detract away from the flashiness of that play from Max.
Yeah, the last pick support Janna in game 1 was the winner for the side of MVP. Really allowed them to get through the late game fights. This time around, much more conventional in the Thresh, but got the Moby boots, begun the roaming. Really nice hook there. We're going to see the replay.
Yeah, give me that close-up.
The moment that the Flay comes through, consider that if he flashes topside, you don't really expect that the minion wave was coming, so the percentage flash was towards the minion wave. It doesn't diminish it being a very smart prediction from Max again.
Yeah, lands another one, Flay coming through. Poor JJ still has quite a bit of gray health there, so it would be a massive shield if he consumed it.
With Max, you always have that extra variable of him being the pupil of Mad Life. Mad Life had some great plays on Thresh earlier today, I believe it was, so he was the substitute support to Mad Life back on the CJ Interstays, 2015.
So, yeah, pretty much the best person he could possibly hope to learn from.
In most ways, you are correct when it comes to people to have as your support teacher.
Another hook coming through. Oh, barely misses this one. Just off to the side. Just looking for some harassment. Still going to be a bit slow. We had those, little pockets of action, but now it's time to slow it down.
Crown will be on the back foot compared to his advantage before, as I speak over your voice modulation clip. Right there, and Ruler and Core JJ entering lane early has predictably given them the CS advantage over Maha.
That was my radio DJ as he starts playing like some smooth jazz.
Smooth jazz, huh?
Something like that.
Cowboy
some
Bebop
nice
theme?
That's a little, I don't know if that's smooth.
It's certainly jazz.
It is jazz. It's fantastic, but I'm talking something like really slow.
So you're saying Santana then? That's by definition smooth.
Oh, that song. With what's his name from Matchbox 20?
Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas, there we go. What a song.
It was on the radio every day, almost all day. Where I was. I imagine it was the same for you.
I think I might have owned that CD.
There you go. So you got no excuses then. Test coming on the enemy blue, but Max is there.
That one. Recall out from Crown. So not worth trying to push in. What was your favorite CD growing up?
First CD I ever bought was the Men in Black theme. Men in Black soundtrack, I should say.
Okay, I own that one as well.
For movie soundtracks, that was a pretty sick soundtrack.
That was. Certainly wasn't my first, but
the first cassette, because I actually was around for the tail end of the cassettes. But the only cassette I ever bought was a Michael Jackson cassette, actually.
it was also your first concert, wasn't it?
Yes. Interesting it was, 1996.
Yeah, mine was Britney Spears.
Well, there you go. We're hitting all our... I mean, that's kind of the two big pop idols, right? You can kind of chart a course from the two.
My younger female cousin wanted to go see Britney Spears, and our aunt had bought me and my brother tickets, which was extra hellish for him because he's 3 years older than me. So I was just kind of like very young and didn't know what was going on. I just heard singing. But he had to endure it.
What was the main song? Like, what era was it?
This was like original, like before Oops, I Did It Again.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So would that be Hit Me Baby One More Time, whatever?
You might be correct there. It feels like...
I actually don't know. Those are like the two Britney Spears songs that I can think of right now.
You're hitting the classics for sure.
Yeah, it's in that era, but Crown now going to get locked up. Body slam with the flash coming through. They pop him out, and Ambition, does he arrive in time to turn this one around? Max is coming through as well, but they find the kill in onto Beyond, but that still will be traded back here for Crown now. Ambition getting the pop-up, getting locked up by the box. It's just going to be handing that double kill over for JJ. Had he gotten stunned by that Scout of the Week, could have been a third one on the way for Ian. But Samsung, they all try to pile into the mid lane. They suffer heavy losses, and now MVP, they're looking for that first brick.
Yeah, the skirmishing from MVP has been on point. They also rotated their bot lane earlier. It's just sticking with Varus, but it looks like the speed here of 3 members is enough, and first brick does go to MVP as Ruler will be thwarted in his ability to answer that first turret blood.
Things starting really to unravel here for Samsung. It's happening significantly faster than we saw in Game 1. This is not a good look for them.
I mean, the skirmishing from Max in particular has been super on point. Well, watch the replay. You'll notice that Ian opens with ult, and you might ask why. Why does he open with ult? It's not max damage. He doesn't have items. It's because Beyond is there, and he just wanted to get more spheres on the field to guarantee that the stun would hit, because he would be able to guarantee the stun, then Beyond would come through, and inevitably they would take him down. So smart stuff from Ian, showing his knowledge and also experience of playing the Syndra to not go for the max damage rotation, go for the max CC possible from the ult.
Yeah, going for the measured play, and they definitely profit from that one. 1,500 gold advantage opening up here for MVP. Maybe looking for a little bit more as they could start up this Cloud Drake, and they will. 12 minutes in, it's going to be a very early Cloud Drake take.
I know you say that a bit facetiously because it's a Cloud Drake, but I'm hoping an Infernal is hiding behind it.
Got to roll the dice. We haven't had an Infernal yet today. And it's going to be a Mountain.
Close enough.
Okay, that's the next best thing.
MVP fans finally feeling better after watching the bullying that was Game 2 and actually have something to cheer about. Double buffs were also given to Ian over the course of all of that, who is 2-0-1 and has been able to go sideways from the Merlinomicon into Needlessly Large Rod, and with the early magic penetration boots.
They'll come in through Core. JJ played in underneath the turret, has the shield. Chain of Corruption coming down. So they try to find this kill. Flashing in is Maha, looking for it, but cannot find the hit. Core JJ will be able to walk his way out of this. But it's still going to be 3 summoner spells invested here from the side of Samsung just for the flash of that Xayah.
Crown spotted, first to roam predictably. Haven't seen any Weaver's Wall play this game at all.
Yeah.
That cooldown hasn't been a vital one.
He's been getting bullied out in the mid lane. He hasn't had an opportunity to use it.
Now, the one bit of pause I'll have about getting hyped about MVP is now finally on the screen. We've ignored the top lane this whole time. And Cuvée, with no jungle interaction, has been able to match CS with a Jarvan. So the inevitability of him being a split push threat is starting to get there.
Triforce not too far away. Just needs that stinger to complete it. Not sure how much gold he has in the bank at the moment, but could be pretty damn close.
He missed the cannon minion there. That was disappointing.
It's so terrible.
You know League of Legends is a good game where you have that visceral shot. Every time I see someone miss a cannon minion, I do actually have a bit of a shot. I feel their pain. It's empathy.
Yeah. It's actually one of the things that is just the most tilting in solo queue is when you land like every other minion, but then you miss the cannon.
You know what's even more tilting? When your Thresh support misses the cannon.
Yes.
And you're like, but I didn't even do anything wrong. I gave him the kill.
You just didn't relic shield good enough.
And then they missed the second one, and all bets are off.
Yeah.
Game's over by
I can't trust you anymore.
Yep.
And then they're trying to go for the execution while you're trying to kill it, and then they just end up killing it instead.
How do you trust their lantern or their next hook when they've missed 2 cannons? Game's over at that point.
Well, this is going to be interesting arrangement here from Samsung, pushing all the way forward towards this tier 2. ADD can clear out with the Dragon Strike, but there's another wave on the way.
I mean, the lane swap had come through from MVP, and even if the Rift Herald is being taken, they're going to get an inner turret for the Rift Herald, and that's a great trade for Samsung.
Weaver's Wall coming through just to keep ADD locked off from this, so they will go ahead and take this one down.
Smart stuff from Gragas. He's saying, okay, well, we're going to take an inner turret too by just using the Rift Herald straight off spawn, basically. Yep, there it is.
Yep, pops it over the wall. And nobody from Samsung is even remotely nearby to this, but seems like they're just going to go focus on the mid lane.
We're just getting all the turrets being assassinated at the same time. They're leaving the top lane and actually looking for the pincer. We could see a 5v5.
Oh boy, here we go. Beyond Max, Maha coming in from behind. We'll see if Max can find any hooks here.
Oh, the CC actually not great from Beyond's ultimate because the wall was there. They weren't going to be bounced over it, so the cast gets nothing.
Turret's still going to go down here. You'd have to expect her to get very close to it as it's just having a bit of a back and forth war with that Rift Herald. Minions arriving, but the rest of MVP are here to back it up. They will be able to take this down.
Overall, in a turret for 2 turrets and a Rift Herald. Trade does go just fine for MVP, who continue to be about 1,300 gold ahead. Samsung have got the mid lane turret down pretty low, though. Let's see if they can get it. Core JJ waiting just outside of damage range for the Devour.
To be prepped for that one, so they get a couple more shots in onto it, but still have not been able to take it down.
Okay, so first item buy from Ian, the most offensive we've seen from a Syndra in a long time. I don't mean that in terms of being disgusting, I mean that it's going to do some disgusting damage with the rush on the Ludens.
Just, why not?
Well, basically this tells you, let's actually win the Vision War in the next 3 to 5 minutes, put down a control ward, and one rotation will kill basically anyone. This is not going to be a maximum CC duration play. This will be the damage rotation from the Syndra.
Yeah.
She does need the vision control to actually have any reliability to pull it off, and you'll notice the vision for MVP largely was around the Rift Herald they took earlier and isn't around the Drake that will spawn in a minute and a half. So that's the goal for MVP. One of the reasons why ADD was incentivized to group with the team is to contest the vision, because the vision game for this Syndra is the difference between a won and a lost team fight.
Well, you can see the reallocation here of the members of Samsung as Crown goes up towards that top side, trying to push into the turret. Will be met by ADD. As Ruler and Core JJ just keep hanging out here in the mid lane.
Only one teleport ward on the map for QV at the moment. You'll notice it's the one just around where the outer mid lane turret is, for a fight around Drake that should be breaking out in the next minute or so. But given that it's a minute, it's more about the vision preparation, and MVP have done some great stuff. His top side.
Hello, it's going to be the body slam. Core JJ not clipped by that explosion there from the casket. Now Beyond goes over the wall, finds Ambition. Core JJ just gets destroyed, however. Couldn't pop the shield in time.
Ian hasn't ulted yet.
There's the team arriving with Crown. Immediately has to flash over the wall to get himself to safety. Ambition following in with the tunnel system, and Cube canceled that one out, so still is going to be in the bottom side of the map.
So contest the blue buff and take it pretty cleanly here. Pass it over to Ian, who got that kill without actually using the unleashed power. Up to 6 Dark Seal stacks.
I didn't quite catch it. I'm not sure if Cube canceled or if he was interrupted by ADD before his own teleport.
Believe it was a cancel, but I'm not 100% clear on that. We'll get a replay, I'm sure, if it was something cool.
More
we'll allow
likely.
Cube to push up in bot lane as Drake is about to spawn, and that does present MVP the task of needing to reset the wave before they can actually go to the Drake.
Well, Maha's here, and he can do that very quickly. So not going to be too costly as far as the time is concerned. In the time, Samsung pushing forward. They're actually operating around this upper half of the jungle rather than working their way down towards that Drake.
And the time, it's 18 minutes 30, but I think the fact that we're 2 hours 40 into a series between Samsung and MVP, first versus 10th, the fact that we're still unclear who's going to win is pretty big as Crown takes the Cataclysm, but there's reinforcements coming.
Yeah, they are, but the Flag and Drag is there, so ADD is still very safe, doesn't have to use the flash or anything. In the meantime, QV still drawing pressure down towards that bottom side of the map. You can see Maha, who's looking to walk up, now has to go back to answer this wave, perhaps. Or they're just going to try to pull the trigger on this Mountain Drake. As pings are coming down, it seems like that is going to be the play here.
They'll give up control around top side, but you'll notice the vision by Samsung is placed around the Baron spawn, so MVP smarter to play where they're stronger, take down the first mountain. Will be a second mountain spawning, potentially give them some great options around Baron if they're able to claim both.
Infernal Drakes just hate us today.
Maybe the hot fire will be spit in the second series, Achilles.
Could very well be.
Another one which, basically the same story. Second versus ninth, Longzhu heavy favorites, but every winner's coming off a match victory, and certainly have some players who have been shining recently on their roster as well. We'll talk more about it when that rolls out, but we've learned already that the on-paper matchups have been a bit weird today.
They certainly have.
We've already had Janna and Amumu.
It's a weird day. Not what I expected when somebody spat on my shoes. I was not anticipating this.
I like how you're looping it all back to that.
I'm still tilted over it.
It wasn't a shoe shine, to be clear, right?
No, it was not. If it was a very poor attempt. Like a spit shine, like they do in Space Jam.
Maybe like
up the gymnasium.
Okay. Maybe instead of handing out a leaflet, he just spits on people's shoes, and then if they say yes, then it's time for him to clean them. A new business opportunity.
That could be it.
If casting doesn't work out, I've given you a great idea.
I have dirtied your shoes. Now you require my services. It's like a mechanic just breaking people's vehicles so that they have to come back and get that fixed.
There's business opportunities everywhere.
Yes. You just got to be creative.
Well, creativity has gotten MVP a game win. It's got MVP into a third game at 21 minutes with a very decent chance, not an outside chance, but a decent chance of taking this series. They're finally returning to the mid lane turret they couldn't take earlier, and okay, they're going to really try to double down for it.
Yep, Weaver's Wall just coming through. We haven't really seen any aggressive ones yet from Crown, just using the cutoffs to secure these objectives, so they will be able to do so. They bring the gold back within about 300, so keeping things very competitive here is Samsung, but it's 300 in a deficit, and they have a turret advantage, so MVP are still in a very nice spot.
Also, where their item spikes are looking extremely strong, Ian in particular is unanswered in terms of power spikes, although Camille, with free time, can do a lot of work. And speaking of free time, she's making a very deep run in the bottom lane.
Yeah, just keeping those waves pushed up towards those inhib turrets, but hasn't found the opportunity really or the freedom to get on top of it. With the Triforce would definitely knock those down very swiftly, but just hasn't had that safety.
It's very tense though. Look at team comps. Samsung really are the 4-1. As a 4-man group, they can push up and siege. Crown can poke around. They have Tahm Kench to disengage, probably for Maha if he goes for auto attacks on the turret, and also Ambition there for the Tremor Sense information. As MVP just really are looking for the picks. MVP's strength at this point in the game is proportional to their control ward line. When it comes to late game, it's going to be about the swift push from QV versus Maha starting to pile up insane amounts of damage. 2 items in so far is Maha, who we really haven't talked about. 30 CS disadvantage, but otherwise going just fine, trucking along.
Yeah, he's got those assists to get some of that gold back. Look, finding the wolf that is way out of its own territory.
Not the Heroes of the Stormcaster, for clarity.
The what?
Well, the Baron is what we need to talk about right now.
Okay, yeah. Baron is a thing that exists. I don't know what that other thing that you said was, but Baron has been engaged. 50% down onto that one. And QV still splitting here in the bottom side of the map. TP is available if he needs to join in, but it seems like MVP will be staved off, and he's finally going to get a couple hits in onto this turret.
They don't know he's recalling, but you're right. Here comes the first one. He's going to start making swift work of the turret. Only now is ADD able to contest.
Goes forward with flag and drag, but not in a position to really fight this Camille at this point, so seems like they're just going to go their separate ways. Got a couple hits in, knocks it down to just about 50%. QV's still hanging out.
Moment that AD has to leave. Vision control starts to go away. Sometimes Ian has to actually flash defensively from the seismic shove.
Just getting himself out of there. Does keep himself alive, but not without consequence. And now that's going to be the ultimatum coming through. Redemption is tossed out. The pop AD back up keeps him alive. That likely could have been the difference there from QV finding that solo kill.
Yeah, weird to see ADD almost biting off more than he can chew. Needs to be respectful of QV at the item threshold he's at. He actually has a Vamp Scepter in the inventory. He looks like he's working towards the Ravenous Hydra just for kill potential rather than for the faster shove that Titanic Hydra will provide.
Let me see the Bloodthirster.
That one would be surprising. Could also, I guess, theoretically just build a Death Stance, but that item has died a death. We saw it on the first day of the season from Ixu on Jace, and then just no more Death Stance.
Which is surprising considering how well he was able to frontline as a Jace.
Definitely the solo queue special coming to a Riven near you. The Death Stance.
They can't pick Riven if I ban it.
It's fair. The wonders of 10 bans.
Magical.
In competitive play and in a different way in solo queue. An Infinity Edge that we're tracking from Maha. Starting to be pieced together, but still baby steps. BF sword towards it. You have to feel, though, that, again, you're kind of feeling like it's the last time we saw MVP on a Syndra comp, that Rift Rivals game, where they really struggled to get vision control as the game went on, and it felt inevitable that their opponents on the day would be able to take them out later. That was RNG, I believe, on the day. This time, no Barons have been donated over to MVP. They claimed 2 in that particular game. Their vision line has been answered. They actually don't have any unique vision really on the map.
Well, this Mountain Drake gets started up here. Samsung look to maybe fight over this one. ADD up in the top lane. TP is available around in mid. We'll throw out the Weaver's Wall, try to cut them off. TP coming through right on the backside of the pit from ADD. Beyond coming over, going to be looking for the steal. The hook connects in onto Ambition. Can they find it? Yes, they do. Devour comes through. Core JJ spitting him out, trying to create some distance here as ADD comes over the wall with a flag and drag, makes it into the abyssal voyage, and will be able to exit. But MVP, they got what they wanted. They got the second mountain.
But the situational awareness from Core JJ to actually get the 2 of them out was awesome. MVP on the Tahm Kenshin game 2. So smart, knew exactly the timing that was required to actually get out on the Abyssal Voyage. Sure, they don't pick up the Drake, but the cost could have been a lot greater for the side of Samsung.
Now MVP, I mean, double Mountain Drake. If they look for their Baron, that is going to just melt under that amount of damage that they can offer up. See Crown trying to pick up that Scuttle Crab. We'll be able to do so to have that front vision over the pit in case MVP tries to sneak something away.
Need to make that play on Baron soon. The inevitability of QV starting to pile up. QV has a teleport advantage here, remember. No way for Jarvan to answer.
Maha looking for Crown, gets the root in, body slam connects, and he is going to fall. As Maha claims that kill, so Crown just with that wraparound after taking the Scuttle Crab out of position, gets taken down. And now MVP, do they want to just start this one up? There's no TP available from ADD, but he's already beginning to walk over. Interrupting him on the mini-map, maybe trying to find that 1v1, chunks him down to about half as the rest of the team goes over onto the Baron. Ultimatum thrown down, kills him right as he flashes. A nice one there from QV, but now needs to make it over to the pit to try to stop this one out. That's going to be the thing coming down. That's going to be the smite out from beyond. The redemption is what I meant to say. Gets that heal up onto Max, keeping him alive. Freeseeker not going to find the kill, and MVP will still be able to exit with the Baron.
And in the end, both teams did exactly what they wanted to do at 28 minutes, but it ends up being a trade. We see the power of QV. He will be able to consistently solo kill ADD every time his flag is down, and he doesn't have it to get out, and AD awkwardly flashing at the end there as well. But also the Baron that MVP felt like they could claim was taken after the pick on Crown. We're going to see the replay of the 1v1. This is just the reality of both experience and items and just how the matchup goes. Jarvan will not win out. The flash there was questionable. It's a targeted Q, by the way.
Yeah.
On that one, ADD, bit of a misfire there. But this is now both teams have something to play around. The Baron buff is going to be alive, but not alive on the Jarvan. And that's significant because the split push pressure of the Camille will still be relevant, and she still has a teleport advantage.
Yep. QV sitting on top of that ward will be spotted. It's still Samsung, the ones that are looking to apply pressure into the mid lane. The rest of MVP going down, going to finish off this final outer turret. ADD just has to abandon this, so honestly, Samsung looking to trade up. They lose out on the outer, but they'll get an inner.
Continue to push down, though, will MVP. It's not a split-second thing. As
okay.
Hello.
That was a long-distance Hextech ultimatum as QV follows him through on the Flag and Dragon. ADD will just get finished off, but it's still MVP coming up with that inner turret in the bottom side of the map. How long do they want to stick around?
Decision-making here is so interesting. They start the recalls, cancel them, as the Samsung Galaxy, and we do actually have a property swap. We do actually have everyone swap positions and back off. So it does end up being an inner turret for 2 turrets on the side of MVP. But ADD, again, just getting too tricky. He feels like he can outplay because without Flash, he still has the Flag and Drag. But the moment you channel the ultimate, the moment you are ever in cast range, you will die. And it's 2 times now that ADD has been too cute around the Camille.
Yep. And now QV, just for that added bit of protection there in those exchanges. Coming back in, has that Warden's Mail in the inventory, so there's really nothing that ADD can do at all in a 1v1.
And he's not building for the 1v1. He's going to be going predictably for the Gargoyle Stone Plate. I want to go for the big initiation plays. But that, again, plays into what both comps want to do. Camille will be able to, over time, split push down an inhibitor and maybe even add another death onto ADD's record, given time in a side lane. But MVP are very powerful as a 4-man unit, both in terms of siege, poke, disengage, engage. They do a lot of things as 4, and ADD can be the difference to actually picking up kills and objectives, whereas QV really needs to be empowered, and yet his team can't really ward for him, and so it's really just about QV's outplays, which has been on point with so far on Camille.
All right, well, maybe we'll have a proper fight breaking out here as MVP push in. Final inner turret of Samsung's will be taken down. And you can see Samsung, they have no interest in trying to fight this out. Just given, the Baron buff still being over here for the side of MVP, the amount of minions nearby, I'll just peel back.
But this is the moment. 31 minutes in, all easy objectives are done. MVP have all inner and all outer turrets. They're grouping with their Jarvan, even though he had teleport, because they know what will happen if he enters lane. It's very hard to rinse and repeat for any other objective than inner and outer turrets. So this is now the moment where the slack is gone. Now it will kind of snap. This tightrope that we're walking between one team or the other, the split push versus the grouping. No stone plate just yet. But MVP have to be so careful, because if QV can run them around the map, Samsung can get a lot of things done.
Well, right now everybody going to be on this top side. As Dragon gets ready to spawn, this would be a 4th Drake for MVP. Ocean spawning last one before the Elder. You can see that Samsung very much want to pick this up to deny a potential stack for MVP.
Honestly, even just adding time till the Elder Dragon spawns would be just fine from the side of Samsung. They want to trivialize the importance of this objective, but like you say, they're starting it. Weaver's Wall put down for terrain. Drake's falling low, will be taken. Teleport from ADD, they're looking for a fight, but so difficult to pull off.
Get a nice little chunk out there onto Ruler. ADD over the wall.
He's far away, though.
Way popped in. Cataclysm coming down. Redemption does hit as Ruler has to jump his way back for JJ. Gonna get locked up by the death sentence, but he is still alive. And now QV comes in from the backside. Throws down the Hextech ultimatum, but he's just taking way too much damage. Tries to go back in, gets interrupted by the Flag and Dragon. He is gonna fall as Maha finds the kill. Now Core JJ Ignite ticking. Barely gets a shield off to keep himself alive as Ambition goes into the back line. Gets rid of the Syndrome, but it's still a double kill. A triple going over to Maha, looking for more. Quadra kill. Can he get it? No, he cannot. Scumbag ADD will claim it. Doesn't give him the penta, but MVP come out massively on top.
Yeah, fans are running wild with 33 minutes in. They need to bring up a minion wave. They should be able to break the base after that kill. They did so much work peeling for Ian. The Hextech ultimatum, not enough to lock him in. They displaced the Camille out of it and thus ended it early. They're going to just try to brute force. They should not be able to end the game, I would say. We're going to be close on it. 8 seconds for Core JJ to get frisky. Cuvee back in 15. It's probably just going to be an inhibitor for MVP.
Maybe even just a turret. Yeah, they're just going to be
Wow, they're
satisfied
going
with
super
that.
safe now. That's because Baron is spawning in a minute. They feel like they need the setups. They just want to spend their gold. Safety first from MVP. We're going to see the replay. A lot happened in this replay. So first ADD goes super deep. The rest of his team takes 6 seconds to actually close the distance. Core JJ falls low, but you see Cuve's model on top of the Syndra. You think it's over, but the displacement actually forces Cuvee to end the ultimatum or be forced out of the ultimatum early. Suddenly Cuvee, the person with all the gold, all the threat, is dead, and Maha was free hitting. From the moment the Rek'Sai ult ended, there was no threat onto Maha, not quite a penta. At the end of the day, the Quadra came in just as. There's a very low health bar on the final member, so a Quadra kill certainly still something to talk about for Maha.
Oh, yeah.
On his 3rd game in a row this series of the Xayah. 4 items now finished on the Xayah. Samsung Galaxy can't afford another fight like that, or they will lose the series to MVP.
Wouldn't have been his first pentakill here in the LCK either. Maha last season in summer, picking up one with a Sivir, I believe.
Maybe correct on that, but I do remember the pentakill, forget the champion.
Yeah, would have been a nice little repeat for him 1 year later.
So it's going to be an inhibitor for Baron as far as we can see, and might be more than just the inhibitor. I don't really see how that can be.
I mean, now they're going to have the Baron-empowered recall, so MVP will all be arriving as a 5-man unit back into the base. The turret just going down. They get the inhib. That's going to be it. Weaver's Wall had to be used by Crown just to make sure that he could cut them off because of those faster recalls, but that's all they get.
If you think about it, though, that was a good trade. They don't want to walk up.
That was like the best trade that they could have made.
Exactly,
really.
That's the thing. We said it before, but control wards were down around Baron. Face-checking Ian at this point is instant death for whoever does it on the side of Samsung Galaxy. So getting something in a scenario where it should have just been a Baron or a failed contest, it was smarter play than actually looking to contest the Baron for a smite steal. Would not have happened for Ambition, who was behind.
Yeah, would have just been, a 50-50, not even really because of the level advantage there for Beyond. And we already know how much MVP loves those 50-50 chances on the Baron, so would have been playing right into their hands, perhaps. So they try to get something back. They are able to get that bottom inhibitor, but Wave's being pushed up here by MVP.
And it's once again the win conditions, the 4-1 versus the grouping, but the Baron does warp it towards MVP. If they're willing to dive, they will almost certainly have to. It's pretty easy. They have a Jarvan. I think it's time to go for MVP.
Well, it's going to be pushing up all of Samsung, kiting back, just surrendering the turret and the inhibitor.
How much can they surrender, and what will MVP go for? The inhibitor will be free, but MVP, they want more.
Maybe they just go for the victory right here because Cuvee does not have the TP. It would be a long channel on the recall. Weaver's Wall does get thrown down, but the first Nexus turret has been claimed. Cuvee going into the base, trying to finish this one off. The power comes down onto Ambition to help keep him alive, but Ruler is locked into the Cataclysm, gets popped back up, and he's going to go down. Maha, another double kill, going over to the Xayah as they look to finish this one off. Ambition low, can't do a damn thing, and MVP, they finally got it to pick up a set win, 10th place. Versus Samsung, the #1 team in the league. They take them down 2-1.
It truly was David versus Goliath, and even after game 1, you thought, okay, Samsung, play it seriously, you'll get back into it. But over 3 games, MVP were the better of the 2 teams. Max on the Thresh, second time with the support counterpick. The Thresh in the early game allowed the Syndra to snowball, and Crown, the star of their win a couple of days ago, was stymied on the Talia. Only really had some decent weavers, or certainly wasn't a relevant damage threat, going a fairly tanky build. MVP maybe still will be in the bottom 2, but on this day, no one can deny that they upset Samsung, really reset some of Samsung's momentum in a post-SKT era, or so it feels. And now, it's all about the top 5 still, Achilles, because still we're unsure of exactly who will be going through to in order in the top 5, and also who will be going into the weekend as the first-ranked team, because Longzhu Gaming now, if they 2-0 Ever 8, they will actually jump above Samsung Galaxy and be first place.
And going up against Ever 8, despite the fact that they've been looking better on paper, again, which is what we came into this series with. On paper, it seems like Longzhu would have the advantage, much like Samsung were supposed to versus MVP. But MVP, this was hearkening back to their spring performance, their performance from summer 2016, where they looked like a top 5, top 4 squad in LCK.
Honestly, Achilles, it felt like a lost episode that we clipped out of the previous season and then just showed you guys an out-of-season game because it felt like third versus fourth, which is what these teams were in spring, not the first versus 10th that are represented in summer. They felt like that split pushing with the Camille was their best route to victory. I don't necessarily think that was the wrong idea, but they didn't have the wave clear. They weren't able to interrupt, and MVP go on to get that famous victory.
Well, an absolutely monstrous victory here for MVP as the crowd screams for them. And you can see, I mean, these guys are just ecstatic after that win, as you might anticipate.
They move to 3-11, so they will go above Everate winners, who have their chance to go 3-11 themselves against Longzhou, admittedly, but we've already seen the strange things that are possible on this Saturday. That means they will be 9th spot. They will be trying to claw themselves to 8th. Still a chance, Achilleos. They are behind in game score, BBQ Olivers, but they will go identical record, 3-11. It's all about those match wins. And MVP, they want 1 or 2 more to actually lift themselves out of the relegation battle.
And we'll see if they're able to do it. Again, not the stiffest opposition ahead for these guys. Afrika Freaks, probably the hardest team that they have to get through. And then Jin Air after that. But with a performance like this versus Samsung, all bets are off. They could certainly pull it off.
Yeah, what represents stiff opposition in LCK Summer has evolved. It has changed. Week on week, it is different. No team is a complete punching bag, as MVP showed today, because they were probably the only one left to be able to say, well, that's the free win. MVP today were not a free win against Samsung. They showed some of the best tendencies of their spring gameplay with some unique picks. The Jana especially was one of the biggest tonics for victory. The MVP of the last game will be Max on the Thresh. Double MVP performance from Max.
I mean, 92% kill contribution here in game number 3. That's going to go ahead, give him his 4th win. Deathless on this pick as well. And I mean, from the get-go, the prediction here, onto the flash from Crown, just kind of set the stage for MVP.
I mean, both players did exactly the right thing. Flashing towards the minion line, that's the smartest thing. The prediction hook, beautiful as well. But it was all the skirmishing that went the way of MVP again and again with the hook accuracy and also just understanding to rotate first. A lot of smart macro plays that MVP has struggled to do outside of this series.
Well, fantastic stuff, and something for the fans here in the audience, for you guys watching back home, to feel good about finally for MVP, and especially if they can maintain this level of performance, get themselves out of that relegation zone. You know, the hopes of going into the gauntlet, not there really for this squad, but this is promising for the future, for the next split perhaps.
But I can't help but have the same question I did a few days ago, Achilleos. What does it all mean? What does this mean for the future? Because Samsung Galaxy, the team that will be going forward to the gauntlet, you know, that likely will finish 1st or 2nd, given how many match wins they already have lost to the worst team in the LCK and have shown some big weaknesses in their play, because they, in game 1 and 2 especially, gave too much space to an MVP lineup that was basically inviting themselves to be lambs to the slaughter, and yet Samsung didn't finish the game in the early game or push the leads big enough in the early game and allowed MVP to make it competitive.
I don't know. I don't have the answer for you, Papa Smithy, as far as what it all means, but what I know is that MVP have a victory and that Max is our double winner of that MVP award. So now we're going to throw over to Joel to hear from that man himself.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview translations. We're here with Team MVP, the team that you can finally become excited for, and they become a winner this time around, 2v1 win against Samsung, and we're here with the man that really carried his team to the victory, and this is Max with the interview.
Getting some cheers.
We have a huge cheer coming from the crowd. How do you feel about the win? Yeah, I feel like after winning game 1, I remember that there was such thing as MVP points. That's kind of what I remember. So winning game 3 was an unbelievable moment. And it just seems like this entire game that you guys played out, especially on your part, on the support, it's just been just a growing performance even within the series. I think with the coaching staff and the entire organization always supporting us and giving us good words to keep our hopes up was really a huge part in the win today. Is there any motivation that you like to pick out in specific? Yeah, I just like to keep it confidential for now since I don't want to affect the other players as well.
본인만도 듣고 있겠다. 네. 알겠습니다. 네. 오늘 2라운드의 첫 승이에요.
It's basically your first win of the series in the second round robin. And what kind of mindset did you guys have heading into the Samsung match? Yeah, we actually planned the Amumu pick in advance. And that's really our secret weapon that we've been preparing this whole time. And so I think losing with the Amumu gave us a lot of boost to work even harder to get the win. And Janna has always been in the midst of conversations in the current meta, but it just never has been made an appearance in the LCK. Yeah, I think I kind of have the special permission to play all these unique supports more than anybody else. So with the Janna just coming up in the conversation and people talking about it, I felt like it was a good moment, especially with the competition that we had, to pull it out in this situation. And do you want to elaborate on the fact that why you went heal and the cleanse went to the ADC? Yeah, I think it was a trust of Maha that he can use that spell more efficiently than other ADCs, so that's kind of why we gave him that spell. And I'm sure there was a situation where Maha should have yelled out the pentakill. But moving on with that, but we have the Janna, who really earned the MVP for Game 1 and really carried the team. And how did the teammates react to the pick? Yeah, I told my teammates that as long as we make it to late game, I'll win the game for you guys, and they trusted me. Yeah, of course, the laning is one of the weaknesses of Janna, and that's kind of what I already knew going into this. So kind of gave up the laning situation, knew that I would get powerful in the end, near the late game, part of the game. And actually, you know, there's a lot of conversations about that, but did you feel like it was a strong champion? Yeah, I think in today's occasion, I think it was a pretty good pick. We have a video highlight from Game 1, I believe. And it just seems like that near the end of the game, and it's just because of the Janna with the effects that it had, just nobody takes damage anymore. Yeah, as soon as anyone took crucial damage, I can just pop the ult and everybody just heals back to full health. And we also noted that you had a lot of active items on your item build. Yeah, I felt like it was a item tree that I had to go with, a build that I really want to go with. And I think, but having so many active items on your inventory might be a little bit tough for some, but with enough practice, you can get that done. Yeah, I think Mikhail's Crucible, you have to be a little bit selective, but with the other items, you can be a little bit more spammy with the use of those items. And Game 2 was even a more surprise for all of us. We never expected that Amumu would make the appearance again in LCK. Yeah, we never used Amumu during scrims, but suddenly Beyond just told us that I'm feeling really confident on the Amumu, and we said, what the heck, we just let him go with it, so we just decided to trust him.
And they'll never do that again.
But we definitely felt that confidence from him. And after Game 2, you guys lost with the Amumu, and the coaches came in, and the head coach started smiling at you guys. What was that all about? And we actually remember Amumu being pulled out by Beyond last year. I think it was near the end where we lost a bit of focus and bit of concentration that really messed up the team fights that crucially led to the loss, but But I think, yeah, I like to talk a little bit discreetly about Amumu and about the regarding plays, so I think I don't want him to hear everything I'm saying.
그래서 오늘 사실은 좀 아무무에 대한 기록을 살펴봤는데 1년 전에
네.
비욘도 선수가 또 쓴 기억이 있죠.
Yeah, and we're talking about Mumu now, but we remember Beyond using it again previously in 2016.
맞아요.
예, 이길 수 있을 것 같은데 3세트.
But regardless of that, we're going to go on to Game 3.
그렇죠. 원래 뭐 아무무 잔나 이번에 다 같이 쓰는 거
And we just thought that, you know, Amumu and Janna would make an appearance together, you know, you guys being very unique with your picks, but you went with probably the most meta pick that I've seen you go with in a while.
1리스트 이기자 딱 이렇게 해가지고 네.
Yeah, I just hope that, you know, we would win with those compositions with Game 1 and Game 2, but since we lost Game 2, we had to be a little bit safer in how we wanted to win Game 3.
아, 또 다들 인정하는 분위기입니다.
2대 장면 봐야 돼요, 지금 빨리.
인정을 안 할 수가 없습니다. 그 장면.
And I think
같이 보면서
Max wanted to pick out a certain play. I think this might be the one he's talking about.
제가 민호 형이랑 그러니까 크라운 형이랑 좀 아는 사이인데 크라운 형은 무조건 플레이 쓸 거다.
Yeah, I'm very good friends with Crown, and I've played with him so much that I knew he was going to use the flash there. So that was pretty expected of him, considering, you know, what kind of player he is.
두려워하지 않고 앞으로 계속해서 들어.
And it just seems like with the thresh that you had, you went front and you went forward with taking the front line pretty fearlessly throughout.
그러니까 좀 더 잘 당하시는 것 같아요.
Yeah, I felt like the targeting would have gone to people other than me, so I wasn't afraid to go move a little bit forward and give a little bit of advantages to my teammates.
이제 카밀이 주도권을 가지고 있었기 때문에 사실 좀 쉽지 않았을 것
And I'm
같아요.
sure with the Camille getting the advantage in lane, you thought that you guys would be nervous.
자꾸 이렇게 멍청해 죽지 하면서 그럴 때마다 이제 뺨 한번 치라고 자기 거.
Yeah, every time that ADD died pretty helplessly in lane, we just told him to slap himself on the head, and that just got him back on track. So we're thankful for ADD for keeping strong until the end.
Don't tell your solo queue partners to do that, though, by the way.
MVP는 베인
That's
꽉 쥐고
harassment.
바텀 가고 있고 삼성도 버티면서
And Game 3 was a situation near the end where you guys were hard pushing in the bot lane, and the opponents were trying to push on the opposite lane.
한다고 부리는 거라고 해가지고 그냥 저희 쭉쭉 밀고 갔는데.
Yeah, I think we were aware of that fact, and we wanted to push forward, and we knew that we could push faster, so we didn't try to worry about that too much.
저희였으면은 카밀이 텔도 없는데 저희 섀도우 복싱하면서 이제.
Yeah, and there was a situation where Camille would not have its teleport available, so we knew that we could keep pushing without worrying about the Camille.
어디 가서 말하면 안 된다 그러는데 본인이 이거 다 말하고 있어요 지금.
네.
한 3번째 말하는 것 같습니다. 예, 저희는 딱 비밀 지켜주려고 그러고 있는데. 네, 아무튼 오늘 그래서 1위 팀 삼성을 잡아내면서.
But in the end, you guys pull off a victory against the first place team in Samsung.
가야 할 길이 멀어요.
And I'm sure with this win, you guys still have a lot of games to go and a lot more wins that you guys need to get back on form.
하고 싶은 말 있으면.
But is there anything you would like to say regarding that fact?
아 저희가 이제 오늘 차에서 장난스럽게 오면서 했던 말이 오늘은 웃으면서 숙소로 돌아가고 싶어요.
Yeah, we were just in the car coming into the stadium, and we were saying that let's smile when we go back to the game, and when we go back to the team house, let's smile after the game, and that's kind of what we achieved today. So thank you guys for your support, and we just ask you to continue to give us the support that we need. And that seems to be the end of the interview. Back over to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. So some words there from Max, a little bit of insight. Yeah, not sure if we're going to be seeing that Amumu pick ever again, at least not here in summer of 2017. But MVP able to take down the #1 team in the league. 2-1 victory over Samsung.
And we saw some rare sides today, and I'm not actually referring to the Janna or the Amumu. We got to see MVP playing like we thought MVP could be counted on to play, showing us new things, playing pick comps. We got the greatest hits of MVP, and that was enough to propel them to victory over Samsung, which means at the top of the table, Longzhu Gaming play against Ever8. If they get a 2-0 victory, they will go ahead of Samsung Galaxy at 11-3, but with a better game score.
Or can Lightning strike twice? Can Ever8, now in the 10th place spot, take down the #2 Longzhu Gaming? Be absolutely a crazy day, one of the craziest days that we would ever see at the LCK if both of these teams came out with
how can it be
victories.
more crazy than 10th beating first and 9th beating second? Like, statistically,
Yeah.
that's about as crazy as possible.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Was it possible at the start of today? Probably not. But if you asked me which game was more likely to go to 3 series, I would have told you Ever8 versus Longzhu, just because Ever8 have shown that Scepted, that Keen, that even on their day, Malrang can take over a game and potentially propel a victory. So all my assurances for the second series, and then they're all gone.
Yeah, again, all bets are off. We're not sure what's going to happen. What we do know is that we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we will have our second set ready to go. So don't go